In case you didn't hear, Mercury is retrograde. So I want to talk about that today, but specifically through the lens of that it is in Cancer. And for those of us that are millennials, which all share the underlying relationship to emotion marked by Pluto in Scorpio. Because this Mercury retrograde is schooling us in a very particular way. Okay, so every retrograde Mercury is an opportunity that I do not hate to get to go back and revisit, look inside, put more attention and awareness on our inner world experience of what is outwardly projecting our reality. So the thoughts, the beliefs, the reactions, the stories we tell ourselves, and our relationship to certain things that are unavoidable in our lives that have a lot to do with how we experience them. When Mercury's retrograde, we're able to look into our mind's eye, see the wiring behind our experiences to hopefully, if you're here to ride the wave, do some tinkering, right? Get back to the design, back to the drawing board, and choose to make some shifts there so that then when it goes direct, you experience your life differently. You experience communication differently, your relationships differently with people, but also with tech. So that's the general experience of it. And so the reason that it's a good idea to, back up your devices, take a little bit more time to get places, the stereotypical don't sign contracts, is that so much of our attention is meant to be on our internal realities that things tend to get a little funny out there while our attention is turned inside. And of course, Mercury is the trickster energy that meanwhile makes the weirdest shit happen in the tech world, the online space. Man, I've always meant to make a list of like the detailed random weird things that happen that you just can't make up, that start happening right when Mercury goes retro. Like the one right now I've been noticing that's over and over again, almost like as a mirror to the way that certain thoughts or beliefs loop over and over again, is I have 3 Chrome windows of an assortment of tabs that I always have open. And often one of them is minimized. I'm just working between 2 and, using keyboard shortcuts to go between them. So I hide one of them out of the way. Man, lately, for no reason at all, other than that Mercury's retrograde, it seems, it just keeps randomly popping back up and getting in my way, and I gotta push it back down again. So anyways, that's the Mercury retro dance I've been doing with my tech this time. But it has been undeniable how otherwise this one is different, is inviting a different kind of reconsidering and reprogramming because it's in the space of Cancer, and that I'm experiencing it in a certain way because I'm a millennial, like many of you probably listening to this episode, and we all share an underlying transit that affects our relationship to emotion, which is Pluto in Scorpio. So it's always been very interesting to me. This isn't my only Scorpio signature, and I have nothing in Cancer natally. It's always been interesting to me to look at this comparison between Scorpio and Cancer, these 2 different ways that we approach, dance with, relate to our emotions. And the Scorpio wiring, which Pluto and Scorpio is just like extra Scorpio, right? A pure version, a more ingrained assumption around what emotions are for. And the way I experience this is that when something bubbles up for my attention, when I'm experiencing an emotion really strongly, when an interaction or a conversation triggers a strong emotion in me, my experience, almost always reliably so, is that if I lean into that emotion, if I feel it and get curious about it and move through it to the other side, that other side takes me somewhere. Going to those places is a journey into the underworld. It is a cathartic, transformational process where I learn something about myself, about what else is possible. I'm like a detective connecting dots, right? We're like natural born therapists. Probably also why so many of us need the reflection of one. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that's what emotions are for. That's like the magic of emotions. That is the payoff at the end of the energy that it takes to lean into them. In some way, every single one is like a call to adventure of the heroine's journey into the underworld that's gonna take me out the other side, empowered, having released something. There's an arc that we move through when it comes to riding the emotional waters that come up for our attention. Then you got Cancer. And not throwing no shade to my Cancers, I've noticed that relatively, Cancers seem to experience emotions more just as a state, like as waters that we float on. I'm almost picturing like a lazy river that we just float on down, right? It's just like a place that you go. It's something that you embody. You feel your feels, which is so beautiful and pure. And if you have this millennial Pluto in Scorpio relationship to emotion that I do, it almost just seems pointless. Right? Like it seems like it's lacking the payoff. It's lacking the heroine's journey arc experience of going into the root, the heart of the matter of where it's coming from, the source of it in you, and coming out the other side. That's the depth work with emotion. That's Scorpio. But with Cancer, I don't want to say it's not deep to say that it's surface level, but it doesn't do that, right? It doesn't go there. And so I have experiences in my life of, navigating that clash or that very different relationship to feelings with some of my Cancer people, of which there are many in my life. But here's the part that I'm always taking notes about and that I feel like is just coming up in so many different ways this Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And that's that Pluto in Scorpio orientation to the thing makes it really hard to know where to draw the line, right? There's just like such a comfortable, or I mean, however comfortable it can be, but like a familiarity. Like you've gone there so many times that when something comes up, you just dive right in, right? Like that's the reps that you've done. That's what you're used to. And so it's not as natural, unless you got a lot of Cancer in you too, which I don't, to know where to draw the line with different people in different situations, professionally versus privately. And I feel like Cancer is really good at knowing where the ripples, the waves of boundaries are, where those spaces of protection are relative to how deeply someone can meet you or how deeply you actually want to meet somebody else. And so whether it's the Cancer people in my life, which it has been recently, or just the pure energy itself communicating through our thoughts and ideas that tend to pop in and out during Mercury retrograde. This is what I see the lesson as lighting up right now for millennials during this Mercury retro, because the skill is so necessary to be able to navigate the emotional waters well in all kinds of different circumstances. And I think that the real art that is available at that intersection of scorpionic people such as us showing up with an evolved relationship to the Cancer side of it is being able to, and here's the challenge, show up just as real and authentic regardless of where you're drawing that line, instead of the Scorpio tendency to just bear everything or hold back everything. And that is my invitation to you during this Mercury retrograde. Besides, of course, the usual, think before you speak, back your stuff up, be a little more patient with your tech and yourself reacting to it. Let it be an opportunity to discover new ways forward when the ways you're used to aren't working, especially in this territory of playing with the dial of how much of your depths you bring out to play while still being able to be fully yourself.